Welcome to Kenpo University. My name's Al Babinick. I'm your instructor. And another one of the school talks that I have when I'm talking to all my students is all the techniques that we learn are guidelines. All right? You have to learn all the motions perfectly. All right? That's phase one, where you're learning everything perfectly. You have to learn everything phase one perfect so that you know how to do it and that you can move and you have this motion or whatever you're doing mastered. Okay? So you have to learn all the techniques as written, as your instructor teaches them to you, and you want to be able to do them that way, and you want to be able to do them very, very well so that they'll actually work in a fight for you. All right? So first you do that. Then you start saying, well, what if this happens? What if that happens? All right? Something weird goes on, then you can change it. All right? Especially with some people, they'll do a technique and the same odd thing keeps happening all the time. You know? Well, you got to go back and fix it and make sure you understand why whatever was happening, but then say, well, you know what? If this happens to me all the time, maybe I should, come up with something to do for it. All right? Or let's just say, and a possibility there's a technique that you don't necessarily like. And you're saying, man, I don't like how bow of compulsion, I'm breaking the get on top rule. I want to do something about that. So if you were doing bow of compulsion, the last set of moves, you're doing the low line figure eight on their knees. You're kneeling underneath them, got your hand up so they don't fall on you. And you're like, you know what? Just don't like that. I don't like I'm breaking a rule. So how can I fix that? All right? So, by the way, the answer is locking horns. So when you rip down and you do your ridge for bow of compulsion, instead of doing a one-hand chamber and then doing your low line figure eight, just go right up into locking horns. You could do a bunch of other stuff too, by the way. That's an easy fix for it right there. So, but when you're doing your techniques, if you're like, man, I don't like this one. I just don't like the way it moves, or it never worked for me, or whatever, then if you don't like it, they're just guidelines. Wait till after you test, and you still have to remember phase one. So if somebody ever asks you, hey, how does bow of compulsion go? You can actually tell them, well, this is how the technique goes, blah, blah, blah. But you can also say, but this is how I do it, all right? And everybody has different problems with different things. So there's a lot of people that don't like the spin in flashing mace. But if you don't like the spin in flashing mace, don't do it, right? The technique is a guideline. You should know how to do that spin because it or things very close to it are going to be coming up in the system again. So if you just go, oh, I'm not going to do it because I don't feel like it, then you don't have that skill set, right? So you want to be able to do flashing mace with the spin around. By the way, that's in blue. You want to be able to do it with the spin around, and you want to be able to do it well. And then if you say, I don't like it, now you have an educated reason not to like it, because if you can do it, and you can do it really, really well, and you still go, nah, I don't like it, fine. Change up. Change it around. Do whatever you're going to do. All right? Use the equation formula, do a change up, whatever it is you want to do on there. But the techniques are guidelines. Okay? You always want to keep that in the back of your mind. But you have to know enough Kenpo knowledge of the rules and the principles and how people move and how they're going to react to different things to be able to do it well. All right? So you can change things around, but you have to be able to. You have to have that knowledge behind you. And that's what doing the techniques phase one, or doing them perfectly, does for us. It gives us all that knowledge so that we can say, oh, I like this better than I like this, even though I can do both very, very well. All right? So just a little bit on there. Just remember they're guidelines. You can move them around, but for your test and afterwards, if somebody asks you how to do a technique, you still want to remember phase one. You want to remember this is exactly how it goes, even if you don't do it that way. All right? Thank you for watching this video production from Kenpo University.